Hello, everyone, and welcome to our community conversation celebrating Black History Month. And today we're talking with Andy Plemmons all about collaborative projects to celebrate Black History Month. So, just to give you a little back kind of story of what we've been doing so far with Flipgrid, and I'll share my screen in just a moment so that you can see all of the wonderful happenings. But at Flipgrid, we truly believe that our students are empowered every single day by what you all are doing in your classrooms. And I'm not sure if my screen is flashing for anyone. So let's stop sharing and we'll try that again because I'm not sure what's going on there. So let's try one more time. Oh, and I'm still getting the flashing, which is so weird. Okay, it looks like it minimized for a second. But at Flipgrid, we've been celebrating Black History Month, of course, all month long, but we are taking the approach that this is just a starting point. So the ideas that you hear today, I want to challenge you as educators to think about how you can take these ideas and translate them into your curriculum 365 days out of the year. So if you've missed some of these virtual field trips, I encourage you to hop on YouTube and check out Vashti Harrison as she inspires students about just incredible biographies that she's written. And we had Frederick Joseph talking about how to become an anti-racist. And yesterday, Derek Barnes talking about just the importance of how beautiful we all are as people. And on February 24th, we'll have Nick Stone for our Flipgrid virtual field trip. In addition to that, we have a collection ready for you of Black history topics, as well as partners that you can check out, such as Langston League, Equal Justice Initiative, and ADL Education. And you can always go back and watch any of these other community conversations. We're recording this one right now. So if you miss part of the conversation, you can always catch up with that later. So without further ado, today I want to welcome Andy Plemmons to our conversation. So Andy, tell everyone a little bit about you.
I am so glad to be here. My name is Andy Plemmons, and I am a library media specialist in Athens, Georgia at David C. Barrow Elementary. Before I came into the library, I was a classroom teacher. I taught third grade starting back in 2001. So I'm in my 20th year as an educator, which is really exciting. I transitioned out of the classroom after 7 years into the library where I am now. And it is definitely my home. I love the library because I get to collaborate with all the teachers in the school, all the kids in the school, and also connect with all of the families as well.
Yeah, and so Flipgrid was founded back in 2012 by Dr. Charlie Miller as a way to keep in contact with his master level and PhD level students. And so what we've learned over time is that, you can't keep something good a secret, right? And so Flipgrid was kind of leaked out because of a little error in code, and some librarians found that out. So Andy, tell us about how you learned about Flipgrid and when you actually started using Flipgrid.
Yeah, so I first heard about Flipgrid when I was at the American Association of School Librarians conference in Hartford, Connecticut. It was back in 2013, so just a year after it was created. And we had something like a little unconference at night where people could just get up to the mic and share something that they had discovered. And a librarian shared Flipgrid as a possibility. And when I saw it, I thought, I definitely want to try this with my students. So as soon as I got back to Athens, I signed up for an account and started discovering ways that I could use it with students. And then, through the power of social media, started sharing that work that we were doing on Twitter and through my blog, and other people started to follow along and use it, and the community just grew and grew every year.
Yeah, and I've read your blog, and I want to just show everyone how incredible this is. So back in 2014, this is what Flipgrid looked like, y'all. Like, it's come a long, long way. But Andy has been using Flipgrid effectively with his scholars since 2014 after learning about Flipgrid from a conference, like most of us learn at conferences, right? But there was one project that to me, like, spoke volumes. I know you use Flipgrid for so many different things, but the Barrow Peace Prize. Tell us a little bit about what that project is, you know, where you get the inspiration for it and what it's all about, because it is a collaborative project for students.
Sure. Yeah. So as with any project, when I'm collaborating with teachers, it kind of starts with a seed of an idea where we sit down together and we look at the standards that we're working on, and we just throw out some initial ideas. I always love that part of collaboration where you don't really know what's going to happen, but you have this idea, and then you just kind of start tossing it around and all sharing your expertise and your thoughts until it grows into something that you can try. So when we sat down at that very first meeting, the second grade team, they study Martin Luther King and Jackie Robinson are in the second grade standards in Georgia, and they wanted to do a biography type project. And in the past, they had just done a little postage stamp where kids drew a little postage stamp that they put out in the hallway, and they did kind of a little bio of a person they thought should be on the postage stamp. But in this meeting, the teachers really said, well, we want it to be something that's more authentic, that gives kids a chance to have a little more voice in the project, and also to have their voices reach out beyond just that piece of paper hanging on the wall of the school, to reach out beyond the walls of the school. And so that's kind of where it started. And then we just kind of grew it from there. Into that very first year, it wasn't called the Barrow Peace Prize. We talked about we still stuck with the idea of a postage stamp, but we really focused that first year on how to get students' voices beyond the walls of the school. And so that's where Flipgrid came in. So students did research on a person from history. They wrote a persuasive essay about why that person should be on the next postage stamp. And then we used Flipgrid to record their voices and then share those out with the world so that other people could give their thoughts about that. But then that second year is when we really thought, all right, let's take this up another level, because a postage stamp, while it's a nice idea that a second grader could influence the next postage stamp, it may not be the most obtainable thing. It's not something that's within our control. And so we decided to create this award that was given at our school, and we named it the Barrow Peace Prize. So we really spent a lot of time with kids thinking about what is a Peace Prize. We looked at the Nobel Peace Prize past winners and did a little research on that. We did a big Google Hangout where I taught the whole second grade at once, and we came up with criteria for what someone should exhibit in order to win the Peace Prize. And then these kids would research a select group of people from Black history and write a persuasive essay about why that person should win the Barrow Peace Prize. And then we brought in our art teacher, and she had kids think about images of their person. So they looked at actual photographs of the people that they were researching and created their own watercolor images that represented their person. And then we kind of put all that together with Flipgrid, where they would take a picture of the watercolor painting they had made, record their voice, and then we would use social media to share out those Flipgrids that were created and invite people to vote via a Google form. And then we would have a big reveal at the end, usually with Flipgrid Skyping in and having a big announcement of the award. But each year, something new kind of gets layered in to the project.
I love it. My head is exploding because as an instructional technology specialist, what you just described is that transformation of learning. We might start off with standards, but we don't have to stay there, right? We can go above and beyond. And of course, we have those ISTE standards pushing us to have our kids have more choice and voice. But I love that your students came up with the criteria. When they come up with their own criteria, they're more invested. They know what they're going to be so-called, I don't really like the wording like scored or graded on, but at least they know the criteria. So they know what they're working for and working towards because they have set that criteria. So when you say your beautiful phrase, expect the miraculous, if students are a part of creating what's miraculous, they are going to achieve it. So like, what's some of the surprises that you've seen along the way with students really being a part of this Barrow Peace Prize collaborative project?
Yeah, there are many moments that come to mind. One would probably be I think it was maybe the third year of the project. There was a student who said, well, what does the Barrow Peace Prize look like? And at that time, we hadn't really had an actual award that was given out. We just called it the Barrow Peace Prize, and somebody, a person won from history, and we recognized the students who won, but there wasn't an actual award. And I said, well, that's a great question. What do you think we should do about that? And he was like, well, we should make one. And it was around that time that we had gotten a 3D printer through Donors Choose. And so he learned how to use Tinkercad. He designed the first Barrow Peace Prize. And then we printed the prize to give out to all the kids who were researching that person. And since then, every year, a new student gets to design the Barrow Peace Prize. So here's a few of them. This is the one from 2019, and this one. But it has grown from one student designing it to each year a group of students actually designs the Barrow Peace Prize each year. They apply to be in the group and talk about their ideas of why they should be in the design team. And then they get selected based on their applications. So that's just one example. But then, there's so many others where you have kids who haven't been invested or haven't gotten hooked into a particular project in school. And there's just so many aspects of this project that allows someone to shine. So if public speaking is your avenue, then there's a place for you in this. If art is your thing, then there's a place for this. If it's technology, there's just so many different areas. So one of the things I love is when you look across all of the Flipgrids that were created for a person, you really see the whole second grade community together on a screen. And everybody has a voice, and everybody's is sharing something, and we don't know who is struggling in reading, and who is getting services in special education, who's has English as a second language. Those things, just, I don't want to say that they disappear, because that's a part of everyone's identity, right? But everybody is invested in this project because they know that their voice is going to be heard beyond the walls of our school. And so they work hard to make sure that it's their best work, so that people are inspired by what they create.
I love that, Andy. And it's really focused on student strengths. As we work on a team every single day, we're on certain teams for certain reasons, right? I'm not on the design team because I'm not a designer, right? But think about those students whose, natural talents or the things that they're passionate about. It's all about art and drawing. And I just pulled up just some images from your students over the years with the watercolor. They're embedding, art into writing, reading, technology, coding. Just so much is wrapped into this one collaborative project that this is an experience that students will never, ever forget.
Yeah, it's fun to go into people's classrooms after second grade. Like even this past week, we were talking about biographies in third grade, and I was like, remember back to second grade when you did the Barrow Peace Prize? And they're like, oh, they're waving in the screen. It's just a project that that stands out to them throughout their school career.
Yes, absolutely. And so I know, our team has always been just amazed by the work that you've been doing. Our team actually went to Athens, Georgia, to give out the prizes or to celebrate with students during the Barrow Peace Prize. So share a little bit about that experience with our team actually going to Athens, Georgia to Barrow Elementary.
That was an incredible experience as well. Like I said, every year something new happens that goes back to that idea of expecting the miraculous. You just don't, you know great things are going to happen, but you don't necessarily know what they're going to be. But over the years, we've developed this relationship with the whole team at Flipgrid and share ideas and thoughts through social media and emails. And so Brad and Charlie said, we want to come to your school and be a part of that final ceremony instead of just being a face on the screen. And so they had the Minion costumes sent down through the mail so that they could be there in Minion costumes to surprise the kids. They rented a red carpet that we rolled out in the library. And what was the special part is that we made it a family event. So we invited families to come and dress up and walk the red carpet and sit in the chairs and enjoy this kind of Oscar type ceremony to reveal the winner of the Peace Prize. And so it was, again, one of those times where you got to see so much pride from family members who came, how proud they were of their student and what they had done with the project. The teachers loved it too, because they got to wear their fancy dresses and walk the carpet too. But it was just a really special time to know that Flipgrid cared enough to step outside the screen and get to know the kids personally, face to face.
Absolutely. And so I did find in the archives some of those awesome images of the students just getting so excited and receiving their awards, which were created by a 3D printer because a student came up with the idea, which I absolutely love that. And that is one of our teammates in the Minion costume. I'm not sure if that's Charlie or Brad right there, but that is incredible. And in addition to that, things change over time, right? And so I think it was maybe last year, our team was virtual. This might be last year.
Is Olivia Duncan.
Let's see. So it didn't stop. If we can't be physically there, we know we have technology to still connect. But what I want to talk about now is the learning, for the students. I know Black History Month is really a time to have like a kickstart, a jump start in learning about people of diverse cultures. And so this month is to be celebrated, but we want to take that learning, into the future. So what are some things that your students have learned over time? Because I know for sure we've had a conversation about the people who they've researched have changed over the years as well, right? As we continue to learn and grow. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so every year we try to choose different people. We certainly try to stick to our standards too, but we want to branch out and explore people that students maybe don't explore in their standards. One of the tools that we use at second grade is called Pebble Go, which is a part of Capstone, and that tool grows every year and they add more people each year. And so that allows us to look into Pebble Go and see, what new people have been added, who could we add to our project. And the other great thing about them is that when you see that something's missing, just like Flipgrid, they're a team that listens. And so if there's people from Black history that are missing that we think needs to be added, then they take those suggestions. So I like that aspect of it too.
Awesome. I love that. There's people who I learn about every single day. Like when I watched Vashti Harrison's Little Leaders virtual field trip, oh my goodness, the amount of people she has within her work, and a lot of the people she writes about because they're not as well known as maybe some others. So I think that is quite an inspiration. So I invite any educator to use that resource to inspire your students to learn and grow even more. And I do want to take a moment to just share with everyone to help you get started if you're interested in doing a project like Andy. And let's see, I think my screen is now being shared. There we go. We actually have this incredible Flipgrid Discovery Library with over 34,000 topics for you to explore. As I mentioned before, we do have a featured collection about Black History Month. But what you'll also find is that we have partners. So if you're looking for certain resources from partners that you might be familiar with, or maybe new ones that you want to explore, there's tons of resources here. So for example, here's Genially. And let's say you're looking at Black women and civil rights, okay? So now they have a resource, what some amazing Black women in history that maybe you're not as familiar with. So this is a great way to get started. Could be a starting point for the research for your students. In addition to Genially, we have ESL Library. So once again, to have accessible topics for all students, so these are very easy to launch. Here's Frederick Douglass and Barack Obama. We have Reuben Hurricane Carter. I had never even heard of him. So I was like, I'm ready to explore, right? Colin Kaepernick, Viola Desmond. So once again, if you're not sure where to get started, we have such a wealth of resources inside the Flipgrid Discovery Library. And we're definitely here for everyone as well as they embark on this journey of inspiring their students with collaborative projects. So Andy, if you were to give a bit of advice to any educator getting started with collaborative projects, what would be your advice for them?
Well, I think it goes back to what I mentioned earlier, which is that you just start with a seed of an idea. And when you look at a project like this one, I can talk about it for hours, but I can because it's grown over time, right? And so you start with that seed of an idea, you try something that first year, and you build on the expertise of all the people around you. That's the amazing thing about the collaboration that can happen inside a building, but also the collaboration that can happen through all of the networks that we have online. So all those conversations, jump into those conversations and see what you can learn. And then just build each year, build a little bit. And the Barrow Peace Prize is making a huge change this year that we're excited about. But again, we're like, we don't know we don't know what's going to happen, but we're just kind of jumping in. So this year we are actually kind of reflecting back on what has happened across the past year, knowing that students have experienced and seen so many different things throughout the year, from the pandemic, of course, to the Black Lives Matter protest. And we really want to take the project up a notch this year to not just learn about people from Black history, but to think about the things that they did and how students can use their voice to start taking action in the world. So we're reading books like I Am One, a book of action, and we're reading Sit In. We're reading this book, Enough, which is about 20 protesters who changed the world. We just read about the youngest marcher, Audrey Faye Hendricks. We read Love is Powerful, which is a book that's about a girl named Mari who participated in the 2016 Women's March, and how her message of love is powerful spread all throughout the march, from her one voice. She didn't think that her one voice could reach other people. So we're reading lots of books like that to show kids that even as a second grader, you can do something powerful in the world. And we're using people from Black history and throughout history to give them some inspiration. And so the Peace Prize is going to have some of the same aspects, but it's going to look different this year because it really is going to be about what students are passionate about and what they want to say to the world. So that's another piece of advice, is just don't be afraid to try something new. And if it doesn't work, then we'll back up and we'll try something new.
You know, Andy, I just want to thank you for being a model for continuous learning and growth. I think that's one thing as educators. You know, sometimes it's easy to just like put something away, but you can remix something every single year. And I love how this project has been remixed based upon the time at hand, the amount of literature you just shared. You know, that's one thing I can't stress enough, the power of literature for students to not only see themselves, but be inspired by others, but then also to take action. And I love that new call to action, because students are our leaders right now. They don't have to wait. They don't have to wait until they're older. They can make a change right now. And so thank you for being that inspiration for everyone.
Thank you. I love what I do, and just amazed every year by what students come up with, what they say. And I'm always inspired seeing what other people across the world do with Flipgrid and with Student Voice.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And for everyone still watching, please come back on Tuesday. We have a great conversation about race, equity, and justice, about how we can teach Black history in culturally responsive ways 365 days out the year. So Andy just gave us one incredible idea, but we'll go through so many other ideas on Tuesday. So the information is right here for you. You can come right back to the YouTube channel or the Facebook channel to participate in the conversation. And until then, go out and empower every voice. And Andy, thanks again for sharing your brilliance with everyone around the world.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yes. Bye, everyone.